Yo, my hoes, what's going on? It's the Macho Show, and I'm Medusa. How you doing, hoes? What's going? Oh, so yeah, I'm here with my very macho friend, Mad Cat. How are you today?
Bitch, please, let me show you how it's done. Hello and welcome to the Macho Show. Ooh, yeah.
Fine. Why don't you start the intro, you macho dude?
Dude, if you're doing like, yo, what up, my bitches? Yo.
Hey, I can do whatever I want. Oh, what's up, Mr. Misanthropic in the chat? I'll send you a link in just a little bit. So yeah, if you guys can't tell, this is a bathing suit. I'm not just pimping out here. I'm Harley Quinn, I guess, or something. And these are my lovely paintings. Check them out. Oh. And you're just Mad Cat.
Yes, and I'm stroking my wine bottle.
Ooh, where's my beer? I just put it down somewhere. Shit! I just left it somewhere. Off to find the beer. Start your rant without me.
All right, so welcome to our show. Today we're going to be discussing Adam Conover on Joe Rogan. And what a shit show that was. I mean, it was a somewhat enjoyable show, especially when they're discussing the whole trans issue and Joe Rogan's not just getting Adam anything edgewise. He's like questioning everything he's doing, which is great. You know, I'm glad that Joe was like, well, no, that doesn't make sense. Well, if you consider this, and of course, everyone is making fun of Adam saying right at every second. It's like, well, you know, sports is not fair, right? And there's a lot of inequality with athletes, right? And right. Someone said they played a drinking game of every time Adam said right, and after 20 minutes, they were dead.
That's awesome. Oh, jeez.
But, of course, this is the Macho Show, and we're here to discuss macho things. So I want to really just get into kind of like his anti-male message. Now, I'll admit that I actually enjoy watching... Excuse me. I do enjoy watching Adam Ruins Everything. I've enjoyed it from the very beginning. And when they're talking about non-political... non-open for interpretation things, the show is great. I love the show they did on circumcision. I love the show that they did on, you know, counting calories. The show they did on malls. I mean, those were really great shows. The show they did on science, and it really spoke a lot of truths that I think need to be said. But then when they get into shows like where they're basically trying to destroy what it means to be a man, those shows are horrible. And not just because I disagree with them. Hell, I would like it more if I disagreed with it. It's that you see those little instances where they show their surveys, and when they're doing things that are open for interpretation, they don't have that many studies to go on. They show it very seldomly. You know, and Adam Ruins Everything, they're trying to dispel the myth that there's such thing as alpha and betas. And it's like, and Joe Rogan, you know, I don't really like Joe Rogan. I mean, at the beginning of the show, they were talking about how the people that don't like Adam's alpha versus beta show were a bunch of men's rights activists. It's like, yeah, well, they didn't like it, so they must have been men's rights activists. And Joe's going on, it's like, yeah, I don't like the men's rights activists either, because, you know, we have all of the rights. Well, maybe we don't have divorce rights, but we have everything else. And it's like, screw you, Joe Rogan. Why don't you actually get someone of substance on your show, like Karen Strong or Paul Elo, or one of us? But, you know, I'm
Right.
not here to discuss Joe Rogan. I'm here to discuss Adam. And, you know, he's going into this whole thing about how there's no such thing as alphas and omegas. And I wrote down a couple of notes, and I just want to read through these real quick before we get our show started. But the first thing he says is that that society says that men are encouraged to isolate themselves and not be emotionally close to other men, and that it is men who encourage this behavior. Now, I did a survey on my Facebook asking mostly men, but some women participated too. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. And I asked the question, do men feel that society has pressured them not to be close to other men? And about 55%, I actually had like 60 people respond. So it was a pretty nice small sample rate, but 55% said no. The 45% who said yes on the basis that like feminism and the media is encouraging men. But of course, when Adam Conover talks about society pressuring men, he's speaking of the patriarchy. So if I had been more specific and I said the patriarchy encourages it, I'm sure everyone would have said no. Because one, the patriarchy doesn't exist, but two, us men, we don't encourage each other to not be emotional. I mean, maybe we don't want to hear people bitching all the time, but I mean, this whole show was created on the basis of we want men to come forward and talk about their issues. Because there's just not enough of that in this world, because men are encouraged not to discuss anything. And it's not from other men, it's from women. But Adam wants you to believe that it's men telling men not to have emotions. It's women who encourage men, especially when they get married, to give up their friends. And the only friends that are allowed to have is friends that their wife approves of, which is usually couple friends. Now, of course, we're talking about the alpha and the beta males, which Adam disagrees with ever existing. And a lot of people have pointed out that Adam is a beta male. He's a beta male who's trying to change the rules so as he's no longer the beta male. Or as he says at the end of his Adam Ruins Everything on alphas, he's like, well, I guess the betas are the new alphas. And it's like, well, alpha and betas don't exist, then betas can't be the new alpha. I mean, that's just idiotic for you to say that right there. Either they don't exist or betas are the new alphas. You can't have it both ways. But then he tries to use the excuse like, well, if you take a football player and you put them in a Dungeons and Dragons game, they won't be the alpha anymore. And it's like, bitch, please. You know how many alpha males have played Dungeons and Dragons? Let me give you a small list. Vin Diesel. Yes, the guy who played Groot in Guardian of the Galaxies and all the Fast and Furious films played Dungeons and Dragons. Mike Myers, Stephen Colbert. I mean, I know he acts like a cuck sometimes, but come on, that dude's an alpha. Kevin Smith, Stephen King, The Rock.
I mean, have you ever seen an alpha that was like for feminism? I haven't.
And of course, and yes, that is another good point. None other is like he made a whole show about stereotypes and like sitcoms and all of that. And yet he uses stereotypes to describe what an alpha looks like, which I'm sorry, that's not an alpha. Yes, there are asshole alphas. There are plenty of those, but not all alphas act like what he thought an alpha did. Let me get back to my notes.
Matt said nice uterus. Thank you.
But, you know, I do believe that alpha and betas exist, but I think human Humans are far more complex to divide us into two categories. I believe that there are alpha, betas, deltas, gammas, sigmas, and omegas. Don't ask me what all of those individually mean. I'd have to pull up my resources and we'd have to go into a lengthy discussion about what each one are. I'm actually a delta. But it's not, he's trying to say that humans are so complex they don't really fall into any categories. And that way, it's okay for a beta like him to just be free floating. Yeah, it's a spectrum. I mean, if gender is a spectrum, then why isn't human personality a spectrum? Hell, I'm more willing to believe that human personality is a spectrum than gender is. I mean, gender comes down to, do you have a pee-pee or a snatch?
Oh, jeez. That's funny.
Okay, so let me go through the rest of my notes. Men are not discouraged from having friends. Oh, those are my notes. Yeah, like women are the ones who encourage men not to be emotional. I mean, every feminist is like, I wish men were more emotional. But then we had the whole campaign of drink male tears. You know, when we had, there was a feminist meetup, and there was a lot of debate on whether men were allowed at this feminist meetup, but they ultimately decided to allow men to attend, probably because they didn't want to get sued for bigotry, for discrimination. But men had to sit in one place. They were not allowed to be anywhere else, nor were they allowed to talk. Really, because apparently feminism affects men as well, but men are not allowed to have a voice at all, even about their own issues. Let's talk about the Warren Farrell meeting, the meetup in Canada, where a woman is telling a man that he's a piece of shit for wanting to attend. And he says, you know what, I'm here to try to understand why my friend committed suicide. Was there any empathy given to him? No, it was, well, you're a piece of shit. You should talk to feminists if you want to know why men commit suicide. And it's like, really? This man is wanting to express his feelings and he is denied by a woman. It's not men who encourage men to not be emotional. I mean, yes, I had a stepfather who was very much like that he would be the poster child for toxic masculinity. He did not want me to have any emotions whatsoever. He wanted me to be a man's man, even though he had no concept of what it was itself. And you know what? I've had close male friends since junior high. Now, not every single male I knew was a close male friend. Same with every girl. Not every girl I knew was a close female friend. But I did have close friends, both men and women, throughout my life. And not once did I ever feel any sort of pressure from anyone except my stepfather that it was wrong to have a close male friend. If anything, I felt more pressure from women that it would somehow make me less manly to open up to another man. But most women really didn't care, at least the ones I dated. But then I'm not dumb enough to date a feminist. Okay, there was that one time, but you know what? She wanted sex, and ooh, she was so good at it. You know, Adam states that he was never brought up to be kind and nurturing. Well, neither was I, and I still ended up like that. I don't blame society for that. He also didn't see cartoons of men taking the carrying role, only the kick-ass role. Let me think of some cartoon characters that took on the caring role. Papa Smurf, Professor X, Splinter, Optimus Prime, Dave from Alvin and the Chipmunks, John Candy from Camp Candy. I mean, these were the ones I came off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a lot more cartoons where a male figure is playing the mentor or the caring individual and not necessarily the badass individual who's kicking ass and taking names. There are plenty of characters out there, male characters who take on a supporting role, who are a mentor and care about everyone. Hell, Papa Smurf alone and Professor X. All I need to do is say those two names, and all of you would agree with me. He states that he allowed society to tell him who's attractive and who's not. Well, you know what? I find intelligence sexy. No one told me to think that way. It's just what I thought. I mean, a girl could have the most amazing body, but if she's dumb as bricks, I'm not interested in her. Our attraction is based on evolution. I mean, Adam's trying to be like, oh, well, just because we have certain personality traits now doesn't mean that that came about by evolution. Well, where did it come from, you jackass? I mean, if, you know, our attraction is based on what other men tell us, if no man told us, then how would we define what we're attracted to? Are you then saying we just be attracted to everyone? I don't think so. I mean, most of us are not attracted to land whales who have more fat than, well, me and modern Medusa combined. But most people are not into fat chicks. You ever see my 600-pound life? Whoa, those chicks are really, really ugly. And very few men are attracted to them. But according to Adam, the reason why we're not attracted to the $600 bitches is because someone told us not to be. Well, that's fucking bullshit. My attraction came from myself. Yes, other people told me what they were into, but no one said, Chris, you had to be attracted to big tits and a small waist.
Right.
Adam wants you to believe that evolution plays no part in it. Well, bitch, it does. Everything is evolution.
Some people might call me racist for being attracted to Asian dudes. I can't help it.
Now, something I did love in there, he says, LA is more progressive for men to be how they want to be. And that's the excuse he gave for him and Joe. It's like, well, we're in LA. We're allowed to be more progressive. But then he complains about the comedy scene as being very vicious in New York and LA. Or rather, he was talking about New York. But he's like, yeah, they're very vicious there. And he also talks about how poison people are at open mic nights and bars and how they throw poison and say how bad people are, yet doesn't see the irony that he does that to men.
That's not comedy?
He takes an opinion, and his show is fully staffed by women, and yet they allow a man to be on that show. It should be like, Abigail ruins everything, not Adam ruins everything. But it's like they're all feminists who hate men and do everything they can to destroy men at every cost. And he doesn't see the problem. He uses stereotypes to describe men, but then says that stereotyping blacks and Asians is wrong.
Yeah.
He doesn't see his own hypocrisy. And the thing that someone pointed out, I think it was no bullshit. It's like, you know, Adam says that the problem with people is that when they're proven wrong, they kind of double down and they refuse to see any other reason. You watch the interview again, Joe Rogan kept telling him problems in his own reasoning, and Adam refused to be like, oh, well, maybe I am wrong. He's like, no. You're just not understanding though. So, well, I have to speak to my trans friends about this. I'm not allowed to have an opinion unless someone else tells me. But then he says that the only reason why we have any of the ideas that we do is because someone tells me. It sounds like Adam is describing himself and saying that he is the problem. And the last
congratulations, you played yourself.
And the last thing I will say is Adam feels that sports were designed by men for men to be better than women. And women have a disadvantage because the sport wasn't designed for them. Bull fucking shit. Oh, well, football was designed by men for men. That's why women are bad at it. No, women tend to be slower than men. Women tend to have a weaker bone structure than men. Women tend to have less muscles than men. Now, there are sports that are designed specifically for women, but sports in general is about being the fastest. Well, we can't help it if men are faster than women. What would you want us to do? Make a sport where the goal is to be the slowest? Oh, that way women can feel superior to men? I thought women were already superior to men. Why do you want to attack sports? Like, well, maybe if women design sports, women do design sports. They have their own sports. It's just not our fault that if men try to play most of those sports, they end up dominating. God, I would love to see a game of men playing softball. They'd probably decimate that sport. So that's it for me. I'm going to turn it all to the rest of you to discuss how much of a cuck Adam is.
Yeah. Well, see, I need to watch that shit, but from what you've told me, it sounds like exactly what you said. He's just projecting what his feelings about himself are, and he's really just has no idea what he's talking about other than like what people have told him to say, because he's a white male, so he's not allowed to have an opinion unless fucking someone tells him what his opinion is. And it's like,
yeah, that's
you're literally just a puppet. So if your opinion doesn't matter, why are we listening to you?
Because women have allowed him to speak.
Yeah. See, I guess, I don't know. I guess some people are just so into being like accepted that they're just willing to be as cucked as possible, but I'm just not into that at all. Oh, I don't know many women who are into that, and I think it's all in vain because he's just gonna fucking be sad. And then probably gonna eventually have to apologize for something.
You can go ahead and bring Misanthropic on. I'm sure he has a lot to say on this. And it's like, I'm cool not identifying myself as an alpha, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm definitely not a beta. I'm not a cuck in any way. And I can be assertive in my own right, but it's just, I accept that I'm different. And I don't need to destroy everyone around me in order for me to be happy with myself. And I feel that's what Adam is trying to do. He's like, oh, well, I am a beta and I don't want to be a beta, so I'm going to change the rules so everyone else is the problem and I'm perfect.
Yeah, I mean, betas are really selfish from what I've seen. Or like extra betas. Like most people I feel are like kind of in between. Like they're not too beta, not too alpha. Sometimes it's pretty obvious, but like I don't feel like he's definitely like a major beta. It's just it's so unattractive and like it just makes you look bad in like every single aspect. Like I honestly wonder like why. I guess because he has a show, Joe Rogan had him on, but it's like, come on. What did they actually get anywhere progressive? Like not progressive, but did they progress at all with that conversation, or was it just fucking like him spouting bullshit?
That alphas do exist, and Adam's saying they don't, and then Joe's like, well, let's just remove the labels. Women are attracted to strong, confident men. Yeah. And Adam's like, well, I don't really think they are.
Well, then you're retarded.
Because, the thing is that Adam didn't want to, like, meet him halfway at any point. Or that if he did, there was always a bond. So...
See...
You know, Adam is the very person he describes all of the MRAs being.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the fucking problem. Like, literally, every single woman I know has said they like men with big muscles, fucking abs, big chest, and big arm muscles, and beards. They love big, scruffy, manly beards, and they hate long hair. And I am literally the opposite. I love skinny. I love skinny boys with fucking long hair and pale skin and fucking like I honestly I don't like muscles at all. I think they're kind of unattractive, and facial hair. Like, I mean, it's okay on some people. Like, Mad Cat, you look good with facial hair, but I it's like I am into like the opposite of like what what is considered masculine. But literally every single woman that I have met, that is what they are into. I have not heard anything else.
Big cock. I don't need anything else.
Wow, Medusa just like shattered all my dreams right then and there.
Hey, well, I mean, yeah, you don't have hair, but that's not that big a problem.
I did used to have really long hair though. I had hair like down to here when I was like 14, I think.
Nice. Oh man, I have to go back in time when you were 14.
It was on. Yeah.
Hey, mister.
Yeah. What's up? I just came in on like the absolute best or worst time, depending on what your perspective is.
Giggity. Oh.
Since we're talking about beards and shit, I got to take a swig of mead. So prost to everyone.
I still haven't drank my beer because I didn't want to interrupt you, Mad Cat, by opening it.
Oh, wait. Well, if I'm drinking my alcohol, prostate, everyone.
Cheers.
ASMR.
Those I said prostate and not prost. I was being.
Oh, prostate.
Yeah, so, Mister, I know that you have a lot to say on this. I've been going back through all the comments. What did you see the interview with Adam and Joe?
I've seen a part of it. I can really only stand to hear Adam's voice in like small amounts. So I haven't seen the whole thing yet, but yeah, it's like one thing I want to say about this, it's like Adam is like the epitome of how it's like everything that regressives like him say, it's nothing but projection. Every single thing, they just project all of their shit out towards everyone else to try to make themselves feel better about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like shows like that where it's like he did some episode about like toxic masculinity and shit, didn't he? Yeah. And like how there's no such thing as a beta and shit. It's like stuff like that. Those are all written entirely by women. So it's like how women always say, "Oh, don't ever try to explain feminism to a woman." It's like, bitch, don't ever try to explain what masculinity is to a man. Two can play it this game.
Which that episode where they talked about toxic masculinity, because it was on the sitcom stereotype shows, they had a guy from the NFL say, "I learned a lot about being a man by talking to women."
What? What?
Some former NFL player didn't know how to be a man until he spoke to a woman. And it's like, yes, you just admitted what we keep saying. It's women who determine men's personality. Men want to sleep with women, so they will be what they want, what women desire them to be. So if they're a fucking asshole, it's because they're trying to get laid, because they know that women will respond to that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's why I've never gotten married. It's why I've never had a really serious relationship, because I don't want to play that game. If I'm going to sleep with a woman, she has to like me for me. not for what she can make me into being, what she ideally wants. And you know what? I didn't get married. And you might say, well, there's your problem. You didn't play the game. But it's like, when you play the game, you still lose no matter what. You get married and then you get divorced. I saved my whole self the whole trouble of not getting married so I don't get divorced.
Yeah, I've never been one for the marriage game. Never been anything I have any interest in.
So I think you're 100% right. Adam is just trying to change the rules. He's a beta. He
Very
is
much
desperately trying to impress women. He's one of those people who want to be on the right side of history by being on the side that seems to be marginalized and then attacking anyone who threatens that. So he'll change the rules. It's like, oh, well, there's no such thing as alpha. Well, all men have toxic masculinity. All the problems that men have are caused by men, and refuse to look at anything else, which is sad because there are a lot of shows he has on Adam Ruins Everything where he does really try to look at both sides. Yet when it comes to something political, when it comes to attacking men, he has one viewpoint and doesn't look at any other side.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and of course that's just because of how absolutely one-sided Hollywood and shit is now. Where it's like, if you dare to come out if you dare to go against the established group think, your career is basically fucked. It's like I think it was Milo Yiannopoulos said this, is that if you want to know which of your favorite celebrities is a right winger, Google them and see if they talk about politics. If they don't, then they're probably a conservative, because very few people dare to go against the groupthink.
Well, this kind of happened with Avengers Endgame. I was watching No Bullshit, and he was talking about what's her face, Alison Brie or whatever, and about how her co-stars don't like her. And there was an interview with her and Jeremy Renner, and they were kind of being asked, about their experience with the film and things that they take away from it. And of course, Alison's talking about feminism and being a woman and about, how she really learned a lot about herself. And then Jeremy's like, I'm just happy that we can give something to the fans. Seeing the fans happy is what I'm all about. Yeah. She took the opportunity, and he specifically says he doesn't use his film career to platform, which is what Alison Brie does. All she is platform. She is nothing else.
Mm-hmm. You're sad.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like, and the thing is, it's like when you use your entire. It's like when you're just sitting there and you're gonna sacrifice like the entertainment for the fans and shit just to try to push whatever message you want. Then frankly, you're a fucking hack. Because that's not entertaining, and the thing is like that's actually paraphrased from someone who is one of the blacklisted Hollywood 10 from the McCarthy trials. A dude who wrote literal Lenin worship into his movies said someone who will sacrifice the quality of the product to proselytize is not a writer.
Who was that?
I can't remember what his name was, but he was. I'll look it up and send it to you on Discord afterwards. Okay. Once I look up who it was who said that, because I can't for the life of me remember it right now.
Well, look at what happened to Tim Allen.
Oh yeah,
on public TV, on whoever, and talked about being a conservative in Hollywood, and his show, which was one of the highest rated shows on TV at the time. In fact, I think it was the highest rated show. Canceled. Just like that, canceled. Why? Because he's a conservative. Yeah. Now, the show was picked up again on Fox, and I guess it's still going pretty strong, but it's like, oh, we can't have a conservative, even though everyone knew he was a conservative. It wasn't like a big reveal. But because he talked about it on TV about how hard it is to be a conservative in Hollywood, his show gets canceled. Where in the right mind, I guess left mind, where in the left mind does it make sense that you should cancel a show that's making you money?
Yeah, and it's like also it's like way to prove his point for him. He's talking about like talking about how hard it is to be a conservative in Hollywood, and boom, they cancel his fucking show for that.
I mean, I watched that show for a season or two, and I just got tired of how right-wing the show was. Like, they really went into the other direction. But it's like, you know, if people like the show, people like the show. I don't want to see it canceled. But yeah, you just proved his point. If you're right-wing, you're hated in Hollywood. And you're so hated that they care more about politics than they care about making money, which explains Ocean's 11, Ghostbusters, and what was that other all-female film?
Was it a remake? Was it another all-female remake?
But Ghostbusters and Captain Marvel, they don't care about making money. They just want to put out a political message. And this is why these films are hated. People don't want a political message. We get that in our news and every advertisement already.
Yeah, it's like that's one of the reasons why I do give Jordan Peele credit was because it's like with Get Out, I actually really liked that movie. There were a couple more moments where it was pretty preachy, but it's like he's one of the few people who's actually able to make a film with a very clear political undertone to it and still make a good movie out of it. Because Get Out was actually it's like it had a very clear political undertone, but it was still a good, well-made and very good movie.
Hell, I'm sure G.I. Jane had less of a political undertone. And that was quite literally a movie that women cannot be in the Navy SEALs.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, shit, I forgot what I was about to say.
I'm just looking at the comments. What about you, Medusa? You've been awfully silent. Medusa.
Are you alive?
Medusa, you have some explaining to do. Okay, I think her connection is dead.
Whoops.
Well, we might be here for another 10. Oh, there she is.
Oh, there she is.
Fuck, my internet is down right now.
So we were turning things over to you to see if you had anything you wanted to add.
To what? I could barely hear you guys.
Anything at all.
I like beer and titties.
Well, yeah, beer and titties. That's like the two main food groups right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I want a beer and see something naked.
Yep, that's how it is.
And that's how strip clubs stay in business.
Yep.
For Jeff Foxworthy, that was his punchline. He was like, even an 80-year-old man is just walking with a stroller is like, I want a beer and see something naked. No, not that.
That's funny. Art for sale.
Black Knight Fool in the chat says something that definitely that's a very good point. Says for them the personal is political, which means that everything they do is political. I think still talking about Hollywood and stuff there, but yeah, that's definitely true.
I mean, look at what they did for the Trump campaign. I mean, they had Robert De Niro, Mr. Gay Lord, who's like, well, I hate President Trump. I want to punch him in the mouth. That's like, so really, dude? That's what you want us to take away from this? You don't want us to, like, dislike any policy he has? You just want us to flat out hate him?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I already flat out hate him, and I voted for the dude.
Yeah, it's like it was like it's like, did you guys see I saw an article one time when Bird Box came out, where this was actually what the article was. This was from The Root. This was what the headline said, and Bird Box's blindfolding scenes in show have said something to do about how white people don't want to see racism. I can't remember the exact phrasing of it, but that was basically the paraphrase of it. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, holy shit! Stretch before you reach that far. You're gonna like tear a rotator cuff or something.
Wait, was the evil thing in Bird Box that they couldn't see black people? I see that every day.
I have all I saw was that headline. I was like, holy shit, these people reach.
God,
they reach about everything. I mean, on one hand, they're like talking about how prostitution is bad, but then they write an article how the character from Firefly is a representation of feminism because she's a prostitute.
Oh, jeez.
Everything's offensive, but at the same time, everything promotes feminism.
Yeah, I gotta say, that's one thing that I do love the most about seeing stuff like that is it's like you can tell that these movements are going to be very short-lived in there, and just from the amount of time, just from how much they could try to combine with each other, that's the sign of a movement in its death throes, trying to add up as many numbers as they can to stay relevant. Because like these groups, they all cannibalize each other. Because like the sex positive feminists hate fucking porn stars and or love porn stars and prostitutes. Sex negative feminists hate them. You got like trans exclusionary feminists. You got the feminists who will white knight for trans people at all turns. They all just fucking cannibalize each other.
Well, and very recently, because these groups, they try to expand as much as possible. Feminism got into the LGBT and into Black Lives Matter. So now it's all one group. Well, these groups don't like each other. Like Black Lives Matter actually got the gay pride parade in, what was it, Alberta, to cancel because they didn't want police at these things. They didn't want the police promoting gays in the police force. And it was either Alberta or Calgary, but they decided to cancel the whole event because the year before, Black Lives Matter invaded and demanded that the parade shut down.
Yeah, it was like I think we talked about this as several episodes ago, where it was like the women's march was canceled because a women's march was canceled because too many white women showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like at this point, it's like people who are fighting against that stuff, we really don't even have to do anything because they just tear each other apart. They just cannibalize themselves, which is one of the reasons why I find them so hilarious.
Well, they're also shooting themselves in the foot constantly. I mean, look at Ghostbusters. Not only did they say that anyone who hates their film must hate women, they went back and purposely reshot scenes in the film to be like, oh, people hate our video. Oh, all of these YouTubers who give us nasty comments. That scene was a last-minute addition to the movie in response to how people hated the trailer.
Yeah. See, when I saw that, I was just like, that sounded like it. That seemed like it was just. That was just like so fucking ham-fisted in there. It felt like it had been something that had been shoved in, just for that.
I like it when it's shoved in. Sorry, go on.
Well, I think Paul Feig also likes it when things are shoved in.
Who?
The director, Paul Feig.
Oh, yes. I'll shove it in him.
But it's like, then you got Brie Larson's like, well, we didn't make the film for white men. And it's like you make a film for as many people as you can so you can get as much money as possible. Exactly. And yet if you're attacking the largest consumer of movies, white males.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why Get Woke Go Broke is such a thing, because like when you would try to appeal to just the smallest minority, the smallest most vocal minority, they are not, and alienate everyone else, you're gonna go out of business because they will not be able to just keep you supported. It's like that vegan cafe that had an 18% man tax and seated women first, how they went out of business. It was just like, wow, who could have ever seen this coming?
Oh, well, men just hate us. Apparently they don't like paying more money and not being seated at all.
Yeah.
Don't worry, women hate you too.
I mean, if you want to try to make a movie for a smaller demographic, that's fine. But don't expect it to be a blockbuster then. You know, if you want to make an independent film that's just released on LGBT or feminist channels, fine. Go for it. I have no problem with it. But you make a big blockbuster film, you better be trying to attract everyone there and not have just a political message.
Yeah, it's like it's like I can watch movies that I disagree with the politics of it. Like I love to Get Out. I can listen to music. It's like I disagree with what they say, and so it's like back in the day, I would listen to the shit out of Rage Against the Machine, even though I disagree with literally everything they say. Just it's like make good media, make good movies, make good music, whatever. Put whatever your politics are on the back burner, or try to leave if you can't just leave them out entirely, and people will still enjoy it if it is well done.
Well, here's an example. A movie that's probably considered a feminist film, although it wasn't very heavy-handed in the politics, is the movie 9 to 5. And I just recently rewatched that film, and it's like, yeah, it's a little heavy on the, like, you know, women are the marginalized group, or, you know, white people are the only ones who really can get ahead. But it's still a pretty good film. I still enjoyed it despite, you know, the message they were trying to push.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're just trying to go for a small minority and the only way you can address the larger majority is to insult them, then your movie is doomed to fail. I mean, that's what Paul Feig did. That's what Sony did with Ghostbusters. They're just sitting there saying, oh, well, the fanboys are probably going to hate this. It's like, how about you try to give something to the fanboys? Be like, hey, you know, I know we're doing something different here, but we're just asking you to give us a chance. Try to appeal to them. Don't flat out insult them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, that is literally marketing 101. Don't piss off the people who are giving you money.
And more importantly, with Ghostbusters, they couldn't get that film released in China because they have specific rules about films that have a supernatural element. They like ban those kind of films. So Ghostbusters couldn't be shown in China, and China is a major moneymaker. You make a film, you want it released in China as well as the United States because that's where the bulk of your money comes from.
Yeah, China's the second largest market.
Yeah, they knew that they weren't going to get released in China, and they tried desperately to make a profit on this film, and yet they still tried to insult straight white men every chance they got.
Yeah, it's like hey, the vast majority of the population in the location that is our biggest fucking market, let's go ahead and alienate the vast majority of the people who live there. I'm sure this will go over well. This movie's going to be a smash.
And yet they haven't learned their lesson. I mean, Ghostbusters was unprecedented in how they did their film. And I was thinking of Star Wars was the other feminist film.
Oh, God.
And then they did Star Wars. Both 7 and 8 were horrible movies that just really pushed a feminist narrative. And look what happened. No one wants to see episode 9. No one wants to make episode 9.
Yeah, it was like it's like how Solo was a fucking, at least when it was released. I'm not sure what the status of it is now, but it's like, I know on release that movie was a fucking flop. No one went to go see it just because it was just like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah, no, we're not falling for this again. Take your shitty movie and shove it. Yeah, it's like people try to argue. It's like, oh no, Rey isn't a Mary Sue. It's like let's just do a side-by-side comparison because, well, literally fucking A New Hope and Force Awakens are basically a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah,
and it's like Luke. The only thing he ever had to do with the Force, and the only like Force use he ever did when he found out he had a gift for it was a little bit of like deflecting a laser with a lightsaber with a blindfold on, and then he had an edge when he was flying his X-wing, and it's like nice. Yeah, that was like a 9 out of 10, and then
thank you.
and it's like, and it's only in Empire Strikes Back, after training with one of the most powerful Jedi masters to ever exist, that he's actually able to control the Force. And
well, even then, like his presentation of the Force is not that great in Empire. Yeah,
exactly, because there was actual development in that, and then in fucking Force Awakens, it's like halfway through it, where like as soon as she finds out what the Force is, she's using it to like control people and shit.
You know, that's not even the part that really bothers me about that. Fine. She is somehow specialized in the Force and figures shit out quickly. Fine, she's a savant. But she's a savant in everything. I mean, and people have tried to explain this to me. I'm like, you're a fucking moron. Like, not only is she capable, like, oh, let's run for the Millennium Falcon. I'm an expert flyer, even though I've never flown a spaceship before. Okay, fine. She's a savant in that. Oh, but now we need to repair this ship. It's overly complicated. I've never seen it before, but I know exactly what to do. She can't fail. Everything she does, she's good at. Yeah, that's a Mary Sue.
Yeah, it was like, that's one thing. It's like Luke, he had fucking flaws and shit. It's like another thing that really pissed me off was in Last Jedi. It's like when Chewie's talking to Luke and Rey is translating Chewie, it's like, no, fuck you. You've known Chewie for like 2 days. Luke has known Chewie for years, for decades. He would be the one translating. That's not how this works.
Yeah, I kind of look at I mean, I don't like Star Wars to begin with. I look at 7 and 8 as a dream sequence. And then Luke Skywalker wakes up and it's like, that I shouldn't be drinking before I go to sleep.
Yeah, it was. That reminds me. It was. I saw this was some fucking random blue check mark on Twitter. This was posted a while ago, where it's like has like a picture of Lisa Simpson in front of the projector that's become a meme now, and it said, if Sarah Connor and Ripley came out today, you man babies would hate her just like how you hate Rey and stuff. I'm just like, no, because the thing is, Sarah Connor and Ripley, they were well-written characters. They were relatable characters. It was a good movie, and they were not. And it's like, and they had flaws. They had actual character development. They weren't just a Mary Sue shoehorned into a fucking plot.
Well, even look at the first Terminator movie. I mean, compared from 1 to 2, Sarah Connor became a serious badass, but she didn't start out that way. She started as a very simple woman living in California who didn't know which end of a gun to point at someone.
Yeah, it's like that's called character development. That's essential to creating a good character. It was like she went from, it's like over the course of that movie, she went from just a waitress in LA to being able to kill an unstoppable killing machine.
I guess he wasn't so so unstoppable.
Yeah. Apparently, this Terminator's kryptonite is a hydraulic press.
Hydraulic press, my one weakness. But yeah, I mean, if those movies came out today, and under the condition that they came out exactly as they were, maybe some updated graphics, but word for word, action by action, scene by scene, today, we would love them. But if they were released under this feminist media and changing it to reflect the current culture, we would hate the films because it would be political.
Yeah, it's like if Terminator 1 came out and Sarah Connor went from, and it was just a fucking waitress in LA, and then just the Terminator shows up, and then she immediately just breaks it. She breaks a table over the bar and just beats the Terminator off. Not like that, but
look at the film Terminator Genesis, where we see Sarah Connor starting off as a badass. I mean, they explain it with backstory, but it's like, I didn't hate that character. I actually liked that character a lot. It made sense. And she didn't push a political agenda of like, oh, well, I'm just a woman, so I guess I can't do anything. It's like there was a Terminator to deal with, and they dealt with it. There was no time to discuss politics.
Yeah. I haven't seen Genesis. I haven't seen any of the Terminator movies after 3. And as far as I'm concerned, those don't exist.
It's not a great film, not as good as 2, but it's still a pretty decent film.
Yeah. Like the biggest thing, all I would say is the biggest thing is like in Terminator Genesis, like you see, it's like I remember seeing from the commercials where it's like the giant, like building size killer robots. I'm just like, okay, if I was Skynet and I had these, I would have won already. There would have been no chance of them going back in time. There would be no human resistance if I had control of these things.
They were running on Microsoft Word.
Oh, well, that explains everything then.
I mean, they would have dominated, but they were in the middle of an update for 10 years.
God damn, what were they running? Like Windows 1?
Well, we're about an hour in to the show. How's everybody feeling? Good.
I'm feeling much better now that you're in that position.
Oh yeah, that's good.
But I mean, back to our main point. We're talking about.
I was gonna fucking say something, you jerk.
Go ahead, say it.
All right, so for those who don't know, I am extremely desperate right now to make some money because my van, which I worked really hard to get, died on me, and now I have to get a new radiator and a new starter, and it's going to be expensive. And not only that, but I have to move out of my house pretty soon, in less than 60 days, so that sucks.
54.
Yeah, I said less than 60 days. That's good enough.
All right.
So yeah, I'm kind of like really desperate at the moment to sell art or GIFs or pictures or literally anything you can think of. Like someone had me make cookies for them and send them to them. Like literally just name it and I will happily do whatever you want for donations. So yeah, paypal.me/Medusasgorgons. And I would rather give you something than just have you donate. But if you just want to donate, that's cool too. But yeah, I have tons of art and, lots of other things I can offer.
And also, I want to add to this that any donations that I get between now and when Medusa is able to move to a new place, I will give to Medusa.
Oh, geez, you don't have to do that.
Well, I want to help you. I don't want you to be homeless. Although, you can kind of solve the problem. I mean, just get the van fixed and you got a mobile home.
Yeah, well, the only problem is that I'd still have to pay for like a storage facility because I've got so much shit Like, I'm gonna try and sell some of it, but like, I got all my art, my just all the stuff that I've made. You know, that I don't want to just like, I don't want it to like turn into shit. So yeah, I'm trying to make sure that we find something. You know, even if it like I really this is like the part that bothers me the most is like I wanted to get married and I don't really want to be in like an apartment and I don't want to be with a roommate. You know, like this house was perfect and now just because we have asshole neighbors they want us to leave and it really sucks. So yeah, I'm just trying to find something that we'll be able to live in and hopefully not have to worry about fucking neighbors. Like it's ridiculous. We're really not bad people.
Links are in the chat. Links are in the chat and the description.
Thank you. Well, by the way, I have to restart my microphone. I don't know why my headphones aren't working, but I can barely hear you guys. So I'll be just a second.
Anyway, what were you saying, Mad Cat?
I'm just wondering why her neighbors are a problem.
Yeah, that's something I'm concerned about. Yeah.
I mean, are they a bunch of dildos? What?
Apparently.
No, they are. They are fucking dildos because they constantly harass the owners of the not even the property managers, the actual owners of the property, and they just harass them constantly with fake complaints about us. They literally said one time they have a snake in their house and they don't have an exotic pet permit. You know what doesn't fucking exist? An exotic pet permit. So yeah, fuck that bitch.
Wow, what a cunt.
Yeah. She's evil, dude. She literally, I think she has dementia. I think she has fucking dementia. And she's so old, like she's gonna die soon. I don't know why she bought that house. Like, I'm sorry to be so harsh, but she's literally like the fucking Wicked Witch. Like, I don't understand it.
No, just because she's old doesn't mean that you don't have to be harsh. I mean, she shot the first, thing.
That's the thing. Like, she was so nice to us when she first moved in. We were here first. She comes in, she's really nice to us, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, fucking don't park in my yard. Like, she literally said, yeah, you can use the spot right next to your driveway that just happens to be part of my property. And then one day someone parked there and she was like, if they don't move, I'm going to call the cops. And we're like, okay, lady, like, don't freak out. And ever since that day, she suddenly decided that she hated us, and I don't know why. I really don't know why. She even told us that if we were walking my dog Derp, to not let him smell her yard because she puts chemicals in the yard that kills dogs. That's what she told me.
Well, you should probably tell her not to sniff your yard because she put chemicals in there that kills old ladies.
That would be funny. Oh my god. I swear, I'm just gonna let Derp take a giant shit right on her fucking yard. Or on her doorstep before I leave.
No, that's not big enough. You should take a giant dump on her
No,
yard.
because then they can trace my DNA. Oh shit! No, probably not because I'm not in the system. So, oh no, but she apparently has cameras, according to her. Who the fuck knows? I'm gonna try to rejoin the call because this thing is still being stupid, and I'm sure my microphone doesn't sound amazing right now.
They're coming through fine. Oh well. So let's kind of return back to talking about Adam Conover. It's like, I don't know. A point that I made was, it seems like he gets his information from the same source that all feminists do, from a gender studies textbook. I mean, I don't think he's ever really spoken to a men's activist. He's probably spoken to a lot of idiots, and he just assumes they must be men's activists.
Yeah, probably.
Go ahead.
Yeah, probably just because people like that, they just throw any fucking label they can at you. Just whatever they can come up with, just what they consider just to be a catch-all pejorative to throw at people who they don't agree with.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, you're just a white male. If anyone remembers that one.
You're fucking a white male!
And that's just the way he dismisses the conversation. Oh, it's not that he's wrong in any way. It's that, well, they're just men's activists. So, of course, they're wrong. And it's like, you do a show where you try to do fact-finding, and yet you don't even really try to understand all sides of the issue. I mean, you say that it's toxic masculinity that's responsible for the high rate of suicide. That it's because men encourage other men not to be open with each other, and that's fucking bullshit. Yeah. I mean, this show is about us, me, man, trying to get other men to talk about shit because we can't.
Yeah, it's like whenever me and my friends, whenever we all get together and stuff, it's like if one of us is going through some shit, literally we're all just like, all right, dude, what's going on? What do you need? Do you need to talk about this stuff? Do you need help with something? What's going on? I mean, what can we do about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt G and Brad Young said something very, very correct and said something very true in the chat. Matt G said people don't like to talk to anyone outside of their own tiny box. And then Brad Young said that Adam is a talking head that thinks he's actually as smart as they write him to be. Which, yeah, I agree with every single word that you guys said.
Well, it's like I said, it's like I've had a lot of female friends. I've had a lot of male friends. I don't talk to them about my problems. I find a small select people because I know most people don't want to hear shit. They go out, they want to party, they want to get drunk. They don't want to be dragged down into someone's depressing shit.
Yeah.
That's why, you take your friends aside, during an off time and talk with them.
Yeah.
But, most females are not even like that. They don't want to talk about shit all the fucking time. They just want to, stroke off and feel like they're legitimate.
Yep.
I go on Twitch and talk to myself a lot.
Yeah.
Talk to myself.
That is true, Brad. Going fishing is a good time to talk. Fishing or going to the shooting range. I find those are the two best times to talk to people. For when me and my friends, when we need to talk about something, we're always either fishing or we're at the range.
Or you're playing Grand Theft Auto and you're shooting at fish.
Yes. Just because they won't let you fish with bullets. Lame.
You know what? Fishing is the best time to talk because fish don't judge you. Well, they technically judge you when you use a hook to rip them out of the water and they're like, dude, why? But other than that, they won't judge you if you sit there and talk to them. Yeah, my wife's a real bitch.
Yeah. Just get the talking. Just get one of those those singing animatronic fish. You can get them for like $2 now. Those things won't judge, and you don't even. And if you want them to talk, you just hit the button.
And they give the best advice. Don't worry. Be happy. I mean, yeah, it's not like we actively talk to each other, but most of the time we just want to chill. We want to have fun. And that's really the best cure for life when you have a problem is to be out with your friends doing shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. It's like I know it's like when I've got some shit that's on my mind or whatever, I'm just like, I'll just call my friends, be like, hey man, just like, hey, you want to go to the range, or hey man, let's go down to the pub, grab a burger and a couple of beers.
Yeah.
So we just go.
I don't know where Adam is really coming from when he's saying all of this shit. And it's like, well, just because you didn't have it in your life doesn't mean it's a reflection for all men. Maybe you had a father who didn't want you to share your